Fellow Kenyans, starting today and now, we hereby declare the official start of a countrywide mass action for the following reasons. Number one, the high cost of living in Kenya, which is as a result of massive looting of the public resources and heartless withdrawal of subsidies to food, fuel, and education by the Kenya Kwanza regime in the middle of a drought and economic meltdown. To lower the cost of living and to restore the dignity of our people, Mr. Ruto must go. Number two, the overtaxation by this illegitimate regime is killing our businesses, impoverishing families, and damaging opportunities for investments. This must immediately stop for Kenya to economically recover. For this reason, Mr. Ruto must go. Three, the importation of genetically modified organisms, GMOs, by Ruto and company is a scheme to destroy the country's food basket and to make Kenyans slaves to the American multinationals while enriching his cronies. For this reason, Ruto must go. Ruto must go. Ruto must go. Four, the attempt by Kenya Kwanza regime to single-handedly reconstitute the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission by forming a William Ruto Electoral Commission is a reckless misadventure that is intended to wreck this country. The IEBC selection panel is a puppet of Ruto, of Mr. Ruto clique, that intends to create 7 Chebukatis who will aid him in stealing the 2027 general elections. For this reason, Ruto must go. 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 6, the victimization of commissioners Masit, Cherera, Nyang'aya, and Wanderi for standing with the truth against Chebukati and his cabal in an electoral theft and their removal from office through a kangaroo tribunal was actually meant to create a William Ruto IBC. For this reason, Ruto must go. 7, the contempt with which the Supreme Court treated the Azimio One Kenya presidential petition is the epitome of judicial thuggery. From the judge's subservient and unprofessional, physically biased remarks and the recent public dalliance with Ruto, the Supreme Court judges confirm Ruto's complete judicial capture. For this reason, Ruto must go. Eight, the accumulation of all powers, legislative, executive, and judiciary by Ruto, the perfect definition of tyranny and dictatorship. Ruto is buying the legislature, influencing the Supreme Court, and the sole executive decision maker. This is a dangerous dictator that must not be allowed even a single extra minute in public office. For this reason, Ruto must go. 9, in the history of Kenya, it is the first time our country is facing a two-tribe regime. An exclusive one-tribe regime in Rwanda resorted to genocide. In 2007-08, the security forces were unable to control the violence in the Rift Valley simply because of a one-sided security force. Kenya Kwanza is a one-sided illegitimate regime that is planting seeds of ethnic hegemony for a future genocide in Kenya. Only 2 communities are getting appointed to public service. For this reason, Ruto must move. 10, the creation of unnecessary and unconstitutional offices in the public service, including those of their spouses, daughters, and sons, at the expense of an already overburdened public and an empty exchequer. It's a cruel ploy by Ruto to reward his cronies as he continues to loot the public resources through proxies. For this reason, Ruto must go. Eleven, Kenya experienced unparalleled religious harmony, which is the envy of the world. The attempt by Ruto to divide this country along religious and sectarian lines must stop. For this reason, Ruto must go. 12, the tribalization and ethnicization of our civil service by this illegitimate regime through targeted sacking and firing of legitimate public appointments is a career killer and a recipe for future genocide. For this reason, 13, even though the case was stopped, the murder of the ICC witnesses did not and cannot relieve anyone of responsibility for crimes against humanity. We know only too well what Ruto is capable of doing. Kenyans will never forget the painful murder of Yebei, Gicheru, and the burning of innocent children and women in a church in Kiambaa. Neither will we forget the deaths of Msando, Jacob Juma, Kienei, and others. For this reason, 14, the grabbing of public land in Ruai, section of Ngong Forest, parts of Eldoret Municipality, parts of Langata Primary, Mr. Muteshi's farm, and many other public utilities can no longer be tolerated by Kenyans. And for this reason, Ruto must go. Ruto must go. Ruto must go. 15, according to the public records, Mr. Gachagua, who was the district officer 1 in Laikipia, was summarily dismissed from office on the 30th of July, 1997 for gross misconduct, desertion of duty, and reported mismanagement of relief food for Laikipia district. This is a clear show of unsuitability and incompetency. No wonder Gachagua has impudently alluded that Kenya is a company with shareholders whose resources are distributed discriminately on the basis of shares. Today, we begin telling Ruto and Gachagua that we indeed are the true shareholders in this country. All the people of Kenya are collectively shareholders in our country. We begin telling Ruto and Gachagua that we understand that a caring government cannot emerge from an illegitimate regime like Kenya Kwanza. We begin telling Ruto and Gachagua that we have no more patience with an illegitimate regime that is too mean-spirited and too incompetent to deploy resources for an all-out war on poverty and suffering of our people. We have no more patience for an illegitimate regime of hypocrites and fake humanitarianism. We begin telling Ruto and Gachagua that we can't keep living on false promises. We begin telling Ruto and Gachagua our clear understanding that when we keep taking painkillers long enough, they will cease killing the pain. And that is when the real pain will begin. Kenya is ripe for a people's movement for the defense of democracy. And the process begins today, here and now. Ruto must go. We launch a campaign of defiance of peaceful picketing, peaceful protests, boycotts, strikes, disobedience, peaceful petitions, peaceful sit-ins, and peaceful demonstrations, and it begins today and now. We also urge the victims of retrogressive policies of this illegitimate regime, including workers, doctors, teachers, nurses, lecturers, students, and the business community, to join this political revolution and movement for change. We are stronger together. As your leaders, we commit to fight, resist, and defy this illegitimate regime side by side with you until our voices are heard and respected. We recognize that only through hardship and sacrifice can our cries be heard and acted on. We will be with you to the bitter end. It is action time. Let us all come out, whether wherever we are, to make our voices heard and respected. And after we have done that, we, wherever we are, in every corner of the country, we shall finally converge in Nairobi. Take note that on the 20th of March 2023, you have a date with destiny in Nairobi. I repeat, take note that on 20th March of 2023, we have a date with destiny in Nairobi. On that day, our supporters throughout the country shall stage a massive procession in Nairobi for a legitimate and inclusive government. Save that date. We thank you and let the action begin. The movement for the defense of democracy has now started.